The city woke up slowly the next morning. Sunlight touched the tall buildings of glass and steel. But inside Ava Miller's heart, something softer was happening. For the first time in many weeks, she did not wake up with pain pressing against her chest. It was still there, but lighter, manageable, like a wound that had finally stopped bleeding. She stood by her window, holding a cup of coffee. Not café coffee, not Lucas's coffee, just simple coffee from her kitchen. Yet somehow, it tasted better. Lucas Hart stood in his penthouse, staring at the same city from a much higher place. But for the first time in his life, he felt lower than everyone else. And strangely, free. He had sent his resignation letter to the board that morning. Not permanent, just a pause, a step back. Money had always obeyed him. Power had always listened. Love had not. And that lesson had changed him forever. Ava and Lucas did not rush into anything. They moved slowly, carefully, like two people learning how to walk again after a long fall. Lucas returned to the cafe, not for the cameras, not for the headlines, but because that place held truth. He worked quietly, refusing interviews. People talked, rumors spread, but he didn't care. Ava watched from a distance. Some days she entered the cafe. Some days she didn't. And Lucas never asked why. He waited. One afternoon, Ava finally sat at her usual table. Lucas brought her coffee. Black. No sugar. No cream. He placed it in front of her without a word. Their fingers brushed lightly. This time, neither pulled away. "I'm scared," Ava said softly. Lucas nodded. "Me too." She looked at him. "I don't want a perfect story." He replied, "Neither do I." "I want honesty," she said. "You have it," Lucas promised. She studied his face. Not the billionaire, not the CEO, just the man. And slowly, Ava smiled. News broke a week later. Lucas Hart steps down temporarily as CEO. Billionaire chooses personal life over power. The world was shocked. The board was furious. Amanda Lewis appeared on television, shaking her head. "He's making a mistake," she said coldly. "Love fades, money doesn't." Lucas turned off the TV. Ava stood beside him. "Do you regret it?" she asked. Lucas looked at her. "Never." But peace never lasts long. Hart Global's board called an emergency meeting. They wanted Lucas back. Immediately. "If you don't return," one board member warned, "the company will suffer." Lucas replied calmly, "Then let it change." They stared at him in disbelief. "You built this empire," another said. "You can't just walk away." Lucas stood. "I already did." Meanwhile, Ava faced her own test. Her office promoted Jessica Ford. Not Ava. Despite Ava's hard work. Despite her talent. Jessica smiled proudly. "You see," Jessica said quietly, "connections matter." Ava went home angry and defeated. Lucas noticed immediately. "What happened?" he asked. Ava told him everything. Lucas clenched his jaw. "I can fix this." Ava stopped him. "No." He looked at her. "I don't want your power," she said firmly. "I want my own strength." Lucas nodded. That moment, he fell in love with her all over again. One evening, Lucas invited Ava somewhere special. Not a fancy restaurant. Not a luxury hotel. He took her to a quiet park where the city noise faded. "This is where I used to come," Lucas said. "Before the money." They sat on a bench. "I was poor once," he admitted. "Really poor." Ava listened quietly. "I promised myself I would never feel weak again," he continued. "But power made me lonely." He turned to her. "You reminded me who I was." Ava took his hand. "And you reminded me that love doesn't need status." They sat in silence, watching the sky turn orange. The next morning, Ava made a decision. She accepted the job offer at Hart Global, but with conditions. She walked into the building with confidence. Not as Lucas Hart's lover, but as Ava Miller. She
She met the board. "I will work here," she said. "But I don't want favors. I want fairness." The board exchanged looks. "She's different," one whispered. They agreed. Lucas waited outside. When Ava came out, she smiled. "I got it," she said. Lucas hugged her tightly, not caring who watched. Weeks passed. Healing happened slowly. Trust returned gently. Love grew stronger than before. The cafe remained open. Lucas worked there less, but never left it fully. It kept him grounded. One afternoon, a young woman entered the cafe. She looked nervous. "Are you really the billionaire?" she asked. Lucas smiled. "Sometimes." She laughed. "Then why are you here?" Lucas glanced at Ava, who was sitting near the window. "Because I found something worth more," he said. The media wanted a statement. A final truth. Lucas agreed. He stood in front of cameras. "I hid who I was," he said, "and I hurt someone I love." Ava stood beside him. "I am not proud of my lies," Lucas continued, "but I am proud of the love that survived them." He took Ava's hand. "Money built my empire," he said, "but love rebuilt my heart." The world watched and believed. Amanda Lewis sent one last message. "You chose the wrong path." Lucas deleted it, without regret. One quiet evening, Lucas closed the cafe early. Ava waited inside. He locked the door and turned to her. "I have something to ask you," he said nervously. Ava smiled. "You're a billionaire, you shouldn't be nervous." Lucas laughed. "This is the only thing that scares me." He reached into his pocket. Not a huge diamond. Not something flashy. Just a simple ring. "I don't want to impress you," he said. "I want to walk beside you." Ava's eyes filled with tears. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. Lucas nodded. "Every day. Every version of me." Ava stepped forward. "Yes," she whispered. The cafe lights glowed warmly around them. Months later, the cafe hosted a small celebration. No media, no rich guests, just friends. Emily cried the loudest. Mr. Harris smiled proudly. Ava and Lucas danced slowly. Not as a billionaire and a poor woman. Not as a boss and an employee. But as two people who chose truth over fear. Love over power. Heart over money. Outside, the city continued its rush. Inside the cafe, time slowed. And in that quiet moment, Ava rested her head on Lucas's shoulder. "This is enough," she said. Lucas kissed her hair. "Yes, more than enough."
Ava Miller tried to move on. She told herself every day that she was strong, that she did not need Lucas Hart, that love built on lies could never survive. She focused on work, accepted extra hours, and kept her life busy so her heart would not have time to remember. But pain does not disappear when ignored. It waits, and it chooses the worst moment to return. One late evening, Ava stayed at the office longer than usual. The city outside had already turned dark. Rain fell softly, and the streets looked empty. She packed her bag and walked out alone. Her phone buzzed. A message from Emily. "Be careful. Text me when you reach home." Ava smiled faintly and replied, "I will." She walked toward the bus stop, pulling her coat tighter around her body. The streetlights flickered. A cold wind passed through the narrow road. That was when she noticed footsteps behind her. Slow. Careful. Ava's heart began to beat faster. She turned slightly. Two men stood a few steps away. Their faces were hidden by shadows. "Hey," one of them said. "You're walking alone." Ava forced herself to stay calm. "Leave me alone." The second man laughed. "No need to be scared." Ava stepped back, reaching for her phone. The first man grabbed her wrist. She screamed. Across the city, Lucas Hart stood in his office, staring at his phone. He hadn't heard from Ava in days. Something felt wrong. A deep, heavy feeling pressed against his chest. He grabbed his jacket and left without telling anyone where he was going. Ava struggled, but the men were stronger. "Please," she cried, "take my bag. Just let me go." One of them pushed her against the wall. Suddenly, "Let her go." The voice was calm, cold, dangerous. The men turned. Lucas stood a few feet away,
his eyes dark with fury. One man scoffed. "Who are you?" Lucas stepped forward. "The man you don't want to mess with." The second man laughed and moved toward him. Lucas reacted fast. A fight broke out. Ava screamed again as one of the men pulled out a knife. "Lucas," she cried. Without thinking, Lucas stepped in front of her. The knife slashed across his arm. Blood spilled. The men froze. Sirens echoed in the distance. They ran. Ava rushed to Lucas. "You're bleeding," she cried, holding his arm. Lucas winced, but smiled meekly. "You're safe. That's all that matters." She pressed her hands against his wound, shaking. "Why were you here?" Lucas looked at her. "I felt you needed me." Tears filled Ava's eyes. For the first time since everything broke, she didn't pull away. At the hospital, Ava sat beside Lucas's bed. Doctor stitched his arm. She watched silently, her heart pounding. When they were alone, Lucas spoke. "I didn't plan this," he said softly, "but I would do it again." Ava looked at him. "You could have been killed." He met her eyes. "I know." "Why?" she asked. Lucas replied without hesitation. "Because I love you." Silence filled the room. Ava finally broke down. She cried openly, covering her face. "I tried to hate you," she said between sobs. "I tried so hard." Lucas sat up carefully. "You don't have to forgive me tonight." Ava shook her head. "You didn't protect me because you're rich or powerful." She looked at him. "You protected me because you care." Lucas said nothing. His eyes said everything. Days passed. Ava stayed close. She brought food. She helped him walk. She listened. They talked more honestly than ever before. Lucas told her the truth. How lonely success had been. How fake people surrounded him. How the cafe had been his escape. "How you were my peace," he said quietly. Ava listened. She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She understood. One afternoon, Lucas received a call. The board demanded his return. He ended the call. "I'm stepping down for a while," he told Ava. She stared at him. "Why?" "Because money means nothing if I lose you," he replied. Ava's heart shook. No one had ever chosen her over power, over billions, over the world. That night, Ava walked alone into the cafe again. The place was quiet. Lucas followed her inside. She stood by the counter and looked at him. "I'm still hurt," Lucas replied. "I'm still scared," she continued. "I understand." She took a deep breath. "But when I thought I was going to lose my life," she looked at him. "You were the one who came." Lucas swallowed. Ava reached for his hand. "Love doesn't erase pain," she said, "but it can heal it." Lucas closed his eyes. Tears escaped. Outside, rain began to fall again. Inside the cafe, two broken hearts slowly began to mend. But fate wasn't done yet, because love is never tested just once, and the final choice was still waiting.
After the truth came out, Ava Miller's life felt like it had lost its color. Every morning she woke up with a heavy chest. The sunlight that once gave her hope now felt too bright, too sharp. She moved through her days like a shadow, working, eating, sleeping, but not really living. She avoided Maple Street. She avoided the cafe. She avoided anything that reminded her of Lucas Hart. But memories are cruel. They do not disappear just because the heart is hurting. Sometimes, while walking to work, Ava would suddenly remember the way Lucas smiled when she defended him. Other times, she would hear his calm voice in her mind, telling her to be careful today. And every time, her heart would ache. At work, Ava tried to focus, but her mind kept drifting. Her coworker, Jessica Ford, noticed. "You look terrible," Jessica said one afternoon, pretending to sound concerned. Ava didn't respond. Jessica leaned closer. "I heard you interviewed at Hart Global." Ava stiffened. "And?" Ava asked quietly. Jessica smiled. "And you didn't get the job. What a shame." Ava clenched her fists under the desk. Jessica continued, enjoying every word. "Guess even big dreams don't come true for everyone." Ava stood up suddenly. "Excuse me." She walked away before tears could fall. In the restroom, Ava stared at her reflection. "Get yourself together," she whispered. But her reflection looked tired, broken. Meanwhile, Lucas Hart sat alone in his massive office. The city stretched endlessly behind the glass walls, but Lucas felt trapped. Board members talked, assistants moved in and out, phones rang, money flowed, but none of it mattered. He hadn't returned to the cafe in days, not because he didn't want it, but because he knew seeing Ava there would hurt her more.
Mr. Harris visited him one evening. "You're destroying yourself," Mr. Harris said calmly. Lucas leaned back in his chair. "I deserve it." "You made a mistake," Mr. Harris replied. "That doesn't mean you stop living." Lucas looked at him. "I didn't just lose her trust. I lost her heart." Mr. Harris sighed. "Then earn it back." Lucas shook his head. "She won't forgive me." "You don't know that," Mr. Harris said. "But you'll never know if you don't try." Lucas said nothing. Days turned into weeks. Ava's birthday came quietly. No celebration. No joy. Emily tried to cheer her up. "Let's go out," Emily said. "Forget him." Ava forced a smile. "I'm fine." But she wasn't. That night, Ava walked alone. Without realizing it, her feet carried her to Maple Street. The cafe was closed. Lights off. Dark. Ava stood outside for a long time, staring at the locked door. "I hate you," she whispered. But her tears told a different story. Inside the cafe, Lucas stood in the dark. He had seen her. He hadn't moved. He pressed his forehead against the glass after she left. "I'm sorry," he whispered into the empty space. The next day, something unexpected happened. Ava received a call from an unknown number. "Hello," she answered. "This is Hart Global Enterprises," a woman said. "We would like to offer you the position." Ava froze. "What?" she whispered. "There has been a change," the woman continued. "Your interview performance was strong." Ava's hands shook. "I didn't accept." "The offer stands," the woman said. "Please think about it." The call ended. Ava sat down slowly. She knew. This was Lucas. Anger burned in her chest. That evening, Ava marched into Hart Global. Security tried to stop her, but she demanded to see Lucas. He was informed immediately. Lucas stepped out of the elevator and froze when he saw her. "Ava, don't," she said sharply. "Did you do this?" Lucas hesitated. "You deserve the job." "I didn't ask for your help," Ava said. "I don't want favors." "This isn't a favor," Lucas said. "You earned it." "You're still trying to control my life," she snapped. Lucas took a step closer. "I'm trying to fix my mistake." Ava looked at him, tears in her eyes. "Some mistakes can't be fixed. People watch them." Lucas lowered his voice. "Please, just talk to me." She shook her head. "Not here, not ever." She turned and walked away. Lucas didn't follow. This time he let her go. That night Ava cried harder than she had in weeks. Emily held her. "Why does it hurt so much?" Ava asked. "Because you loved him," Emily replied softly. Ava whispered, "I still do." Lucas made a decision. He returned to the cafe. Not as a disguise, but as himself. The next morning, news spread quickly. Billionaire CEO works as barista again. People flooded the cafe. Cameras, phones, questions. Lucas ignored them all. He only looked at the door, waiting. Ava didn't come. Late in the afternoon, a woman entered. Not Ava. It was Amanda Lewis, a confident woman from Lucas's past. "I heard about your little love story," Amanda said with a smile. "You always did like simple girls." Lucas stared at her coldly. "Leave." Amanda laughed. "She'll never trust you again." Lucas replied quietly, "You don't know her." That evening, Ava finally walked past the cafe. She saw the crowd. She saw the cameras. She saw Lucas behind the counter. Her heart raced. She turned away. But this time, Lucas followed. "Ava," he called. She stopped. "I'm not hiding anymore," he said. "Not from you, not from anyone." She didn't turn. "It's too late." Lucas swallowed. "I love you." Silence filled the street. Ava's breath caught. She turned slowly. "Love isn't enough." Lucas nodded. "I know, but it's all I have left." Lucas looked at him for a long moment. Then she walked away. But this time, she didn't feel angry. She felt torn. Back in her apartment, Ava stared at her phone. A message from Lucas waited. "I'll wait, no matter how long it takes." She didn't reply, but she didn't delete it either. Lucas stood alone outside the cafe late at night. The city lights blurred in his tired eyes. For the first time, the billionaire understood what it meant to beg silently. Not for money, not for power, but for a second chance.
Ava Miller barely slept that night. The email about the interview kept glowing in her mind like a bright light in the dark. Hart Global Enterprises.
Everyone knew that name, a powerful company, a billionaire empire, a place where dreams either came true or died forever. Why had he said that? Ava turned on her side and hugged her pillow. She didn't understand why Lucas looked sad when she told him about the interview. Any normal person would be happy for her. Unless... She stopped that thought immediately. "No," she whispered. "I'm overthinking." Lucas was just a barista, a kind, quiet man with hidden pain, nothing more. Still, her heart felt heavy. The next morning, Ava dressed carefully. She wore her best outfit, simple but neat. She tied her hair back and looked at herself in the mirror. "This is your chance," she said softly. "Don't mess it up." At the cafe, Lucas wasn't there. That alone made her nervous. She ordered coffee from another worker, but it didn't taste the same. She kept looking at the door, hoping Lucas would walk in. He didn't. Before leaving, Ava noticed something strange behind the counter. A framed photo, partly hidden. She stepped closer. It showed a young man standing in front of a tall glass building. He was wearing a sharp suit, confident, powerful. The man looked familiar. Too familiar. Ava's heart skipped. She leaned closer, but then someone called her name. She turned quickly. "Miss, your coffee," the worker said. Ava grabbed the cup and rushed out, her hands shaking. The face in that photo stayed with her the entire walk. Hart Global Enterprises was nothing like Ava had imagined. It was bigger. Glass walls reached the sky. Cars lined up at the entrance. Security guards stood everywhere. People in expensive clothes walked with purpose. Ava felt small. She took a deep breath and walked inside. The waiting room was cold and quiet. Several candidates sat silently, reviewing their files. Ava sat down, clutching her folder. Emily had texted her earlier. "You've got this. I believe in you." Ava smiled faintly. A woman in a sharp suit walked in. "Ava Miller?" Ava stood. "Yes." "This way," the woman said. They walked through long halls. Ava noticed framed photos on the walls, company achievements, awards, and portraits. Then she saw it. A large photo at the end of the hall. A man stood at the center, surrounded by board members. The name under the frame read, Lucas Hart, founder and CEO. Ava froze. Her legs stopped moving. Her heart stopped beating. "No," she whispered. The woman turned. "Is something wrong?" Ava shook her head quickly. "No, I'm fine." But she wasn't. Lucas Hart. Founder. CEO. Billionaire. The barista. Her barista. Her chest tightened as the truth crashed into her like a storm. Every moment replayed in her mind. The cafe, his calm voice, his wisdom, the man in the suit, the expensive phone, the secret meetings. It all made sense now. And it hurt more than anything she had ever felt. The interview doors opened. Ava walked in like she was floating. Board members sat around a long table. And at the head of the table, Lucas Hart. Not in an apron, not behind a coffee machine, but in a perfect black suit. Strong, confident, powerful. His eyes met hers. For 1 second, something broke in them. Then his face turned cold, professional, unfamiliar. "Please sit, Miss Miller," Lucas said calmly. Ava sat down, her hands trembling. The interview began. Questions were asked. Ava answered automatically. Her mind screamed, "He lied to me." Every smile was fake. Every word was a lie. Lucas never looked at her directly again. When the interview ended, Ava stood up. "Thank you for your time," Lucas said formally. She looked at him, hoping, begging, for some sign.
There was none. She walked out. The doors closed behind her, and Ava Miller broke. She rushed out of the building, tears blurring her vision. She didn't know where she was going. She just needed air, space, distance. Lucas followed. "Ava," he called. She stopped walking but didn't turn. "Don't," she said, her voice shaking. Lucas stood behind her. "Please, let me explain." She turned suddenly. "Explain what?" "That you lied. That you watched me talk about my poor life while you owned half the city?" Lucas flinched. "I never meant to hurt you," he said quietly. "You let me fall for you," Ava cried. "You let me believe you were someone else." "I was someone else," Lucas said. "With you, I was real." She laughed bitterly. "Real? You hid your name, your life, your truth." Lucas stepped closer. "I wanted someone to love me without money involved. And you chose me as your experiment," Ava snapped. "No," he said firmly. "I chose you because you were kind when no one else was." Tears rolled down Ava's cheeks. "I defended you. I trusted you." "I know," Lucas whispered. "And I hate myself for this." She shook her head. "You should." Silence stood between them. Finally, Ava spoke. "I don't want the job." Lucas's eyes widened. "Ava, I don't want anything from you," she said. "Not your company, not your money, not your fake kindness." She turned away. Lucas watched her walk into the crowd. And for the first time in his life, the billionaire felt poor. That night, Ava sat alone in her apartment. The walls felt smaller. Her phone buzzed. A message from Lucas. "I'm sorry, please talk to me." She deleted it. Another message. "I never planned to fall in love." She threw her phone on the bed. Her chest hurt. She had trusted him. And trust, once broken, never healed the same way. At the cafe, Lucas stood behind the counter again the next day. Same apron. Same quiet space. But everything felt empty. The cafe manager, Mr. Harris, watched him closely. "You should tell her everything," Mr. Harris said. Lucas shook his head. "She deserves peace, not my excuses." Mr. Harris sighed. "You built an empire, but you forgot one thing." Lucas looked up. "You can't control the heart." Lucas closed his eyes. He knew that now. Ava avoided the cafe for days. Emily noticed the change immediately. "What happened?" Emily asked. Ava finally told her everything. Emily stared in shock. "The barista is the billionaire." Ava noted. Emily frowned. "That explains a lot." "Don't defend him," Ava said sharply. "I'm not," Emily replied gently. "I'm just saying, people hide for reasons." Ava looked away. "That doesn't erase the pain." Meanwhile, news spread inside Hart Global. The board pressured Lucas. "The company needs you full-time," one member said. Lucas stared out the window. "I know." "And the cafe?" another asked. Lucas replied softly. "It was never about coffee. It was about her." One evening, Ava walked past Maple Street by accident. She stopped. The cafe lights were on. She stayed across the street watching. Lucas cleaned tables slowly. Alone. For a moment, Ava remembered the man who gave money to the homeless. The man who listened. The man who looked at her like she mattered. Her heart betrayed her. She turned away before he could see her. Lucas watched her reflection disappear from the glass. He pressed his hand to the window. The truth had come out. And it had destroyed the one thing money could never buy. Love.
The next morning, Ava Miller woke up with a strange feeling in her chest. It was not happiness. It was not sadness. It was confusion. Lucas Hart's face kept coming back to her mind. The way he stood quietly behind the counter. The way his eyes changed when that man in the suit spoke to him. The way he watched her leave, like he wanted to say something but couldn't. Ava shook her head and sat up in bed. "He's just a barista," she whispered to herself. "Don't be stupid." But her heart didn't listen. She got ready for work and walked toward the cafe, even though she told herself she didn't need coffee today. When she reached Maple Street, her steps slowed down. She looked at the cafe window. The lights were on. She felt relief for no reason at all. Inside, the cafe was busier than usual. Lucas was behind the counter, calm as always, taking orders. Ava stood in line, watching him. She noticed small details she had ignored before. The way he listened carefully. The way he smiled only with his lips, never fully with his eyes. The way he treated everyone with respect, even those who treated him badly. When it was her turn, Lucas looked up. For just a second, he seemed surprised. Then he smiled. "Good morning, Ava." He said her name. Ava's heart skipped. "Good morning," she replied softly. "The usual?" Lucas asked. "Yes," she said. As Lucas prepared her coffee, Ava noticed something else. His hands were steady, strong. They didn't look like the hands of someone who worked long hours for low pay. They looked confident. She frowned slightly. Lucas handed her the cup. "How was your evening?" Ava blinked. "You remember?" He nodded. "You said you had a long day." Ava smiled without thinking. "It was better after coffee." Lucas chuckled quietly. It was a rare sound. "Sit," he said. "I'll join you when it gets slow." Ava hesitated. "You don't have to." "I want to," he replied. She chose a small table near the window. As she waited, she watched people come and go. Some laughed, some complained, some ignored Lucas completely. It made her angry, but Lucas never reacted. Finally, he joined her. "So," Lucas said, "what do you do, Ava?" "I work in an office," she replied. "Nothing special. Long hours, small pay." He nodded slowly. "Do you like it?" She shook her head. "No, but I don't have a choice." Lucas looked at her with understanding. Sometimes the path we choose is not the one we want, but it leads us where we need to go. Ava stared at him. "That's deep for a barista." He smiled faintly. "Coffee shops teach you a lot about people." They talked for a while. About small things, music, weather, life. Ava felt comfortable, safe, like she had known him for a long time. Before she left, Lucas said, "Be careful today." Ava paused. "Why?" He shrugged. "Just a feeling." At work, Ava's boss was in a bad mood. Deadlines were tight. Mistakes were punished. Ava tried her best, but pressure filled the air. During lunch, Emily sat beside her again. "You went back to the cafe, didn't you?" Emily teased. Ava sighed. "Is it that obvious?" Emily grinned. "Your face gives you away. Tell me about him." Ava smiled softly. "He listens. He doesn't judge. He makes me feel seen." Emily leaned back. "Be careful. Quiet men often hide secrets." Ava laughed it off. "What kind of secrets can a barista have?" Emily shrugged. "You never know." Those words stayed with Ava longer than she expected. That evening, rain poured heavily. Ava rushed toward the cafe to escape the storm. When she entered, she was surprised. Lucas was alone. No manager, no coworkers. "You working alone?" she asked. Lucas nodded. "Most nights." Ava sat at the counter. "Doesn't that get lonely?" Lucas hesitated. "Sometimes." The cafe was quiet. Rain tapped against the windows. Soft music played in the background. Lucas made her coffee and placed it in front of her. "Why do you work here?" Emily asked suddenly. Lucas froze for half a second. "Because I want to," he replied carefully. "That's not an answer," Ava said gently. Lucas met his eyes. "Forget it." Ava didn't push, but curiosity grew. Later that night, as Ava prepared to leave, a homeless man entered the cafe. His clothes were torn, his face tired. Lucas immediately stepped forward. "Sit," he said kindly. "I'll get you something warm."
The man shook his head. I can't pay. Lucas smiled. That's okay. Ava watched as Lucas gave him food and quietly slipped money into his pocket. Not coins, bills. Her heart pounded. After the man left, Ava asked softly, You're very kind. Lucas shrugged. He needed help. But how can you afford that? Ava asked carefully. Lucas looked at her for a long moment. Some things matter more than money. Ava felt something shift inside her. Days passed. Ava and Lucas grew closer. Conversations became longer. Smiles lasted longer. Silence felt comfortable. One evening, Ava invited Lucas to walk with her after closing. They walked through quiet streets, streetlights glowing softly. Do you ever want more? Ava asked. More than this? Lucas stopped walking. I have more than enough. Ava turned to him. I don't believe you. Lucas laughed quietly. What do you believe? I believe you're hiding something, she said honestly. Lucas looked at her with mixed emotions. Fear, affection, regret. Some truths, he said slowly, can destroy beautiful things. Ava swallowed. I don't need perfect. I just need real. Lucas said nothing. That night, Ava went home feeling torn. She was falling for a man she barely knew. A man who felt too calm, too wise, too different. The next week, Ava received an email. A job interview at Hart Global Enterprises. Her heart raced. It was a dream company. Powerful, rich, untouchable. Emily hugged her. This could change your life. Ava nodded, excited. That evening she told Lucas. That's amazing, he said, though his smile looked forced. You don't seem happy, Ava noticed. Lucas looked away. Sometimes change comes with pain. Ava laughed. You sound like you know the future. Lucas met his eyes. I wish I didn't. That night, after Ava left, Lucas locked the café and stepped outside. A black luxury car waited. The same man in the suit stepped out. Sir, the man said respectfully, the board is waiting. Lucas closed his eyes. Not yet, he said. Give me one more day. The man hesitated. She's going to find out. Lucas looked back at the cafe window where Ava had sat so many times. I know, he whispered. And when she does, I may lose her forever.
Ava Miller's mornings always started the same way. She woke up before the sun, her small alarm clock buzzing beside her bed in the tiny apartment she could barely afford. The walls were thin, the paint was old, and the window faced a gray building that blocked most of the light. Still, Ava never complained. She believed that hard work would change her life one day. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday. She dressed quickly, tying her hair into a loose ponytail, and checked her phone. No new messages, no missed calls. That was normal. Ava had learned not to expect too much from life. Before heading to her office job, she stopped at the same coffee shop every morning. It was a small place on the corner of Maple Street. Nothing fancy, no shiny signs or loud music, just warm lights, wooden tables, and the smell of fresh coffee. The shop was called Hart's Brew. Most people didn't even notice the name, but Ava did. She pushed the door open, and the small bell rang softly. The cafe was quiet, as usual. A few regular customers sat with their laptops or newspapers. Behind the counter stood the barista, Lucas Hart. Lucas wore a simple brown apron over a faded black shirt. His sleeves were rolled up, and his hands moved calmly as he prepared coffee. He always looked neat, but never stylish. His shoes were old, his watch was scratched, his hair was slightly messy, as if he never cared much about how he looked. Most customers barely looked at him. Some treated him kindly, others treated him like he was invisible. Ava noticed everything. She had been here for 3 months now, and Lucas had never changed. He was always quiet, always polite, always calm. No matter how rude people were, he never raised his voice, never argued, never showed anger. But there was something else about him. His eyes. Lucas had deep, thoughtful eyes that carried a sadness Ava couldn't explain. Sometimes, when he thought no one was watching, he stared out the window as if he was trapped somewhere far away, like he was living a life he never chose. Good morning, Ava said softly as she walked to the counter. Lucas looked up and gave a small smile. Good morning. The usual? Ava nodded. Yes, please. He remembered her order every day. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. She liked that. While Lucas prepared her coffee, Ava noticed a well-dressed man sitting near the window. The man wore an expensive suit and kept checking his watch. His phone rang, and he answered loudly, speaking about money, deals, and power. Ava frowned. She hated people who talk like the world belonged to them. After hanging up, the man walked to the counter. "Hey," he snapped at Lucas. "I've been waiting too long." Lucas didn't react. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll prepare your order now." The man rolled his eyes. "You people are all the same, slow and useless." Ava felt her chest tighten. She hated that tone. Lucas simply nodded and continued working. When the man received his coffee, he took one sip and made a face. "This is cold," he said angrily. "Do you even know how to do your job?" Lucas looked surprised. "I'm sorry, I can remake it for you." The man slammed the cup on the counter, spilling coffee everywhere. "Forget it, I don't have time for idiots." Everyone in the cafe went silent. Ava stood up. "That's enough," she said firmly. The man turned to her, shocked. "Excuse me?" "You don't get to talk to people like that," Ava continued. "He was polite, you were rude." The man laughed. "And who are you?" "Someone who respects people," she replied. The man scoffed. "Mind your own business." Ava stepped closer. "Maybe if you treated people better, your coffee would taste better too." A few customers smiled quietly. The man's face turned red. He grabbed his coat and stormed out of the cafe, muttering angry words under his breath. Ava's heart was racing. Lucas stared at her, clearly surprised. "Thank you," he said quietly. Ava shrugged, embarrassed. Someone had to say it. Lucas cleaned the counter and handed her coffee. Their fingers touched for just a second. Ava felt something strange, warm and sudden. She quickly pulled her hand back. "Have a good day," Lucas said. "You too," Ava replied, smiling. As she walked out, Lucas watched her through the window. For the first time in a long time, he felt something shift inside him. At her office, Ava tried to focus on her work, but her mind kept drifting back to the cafe, to Lucas, to his calm voice, to the way he didn't fight back when insulted. During lunch, her best friend Emily sat beside her. "You look distracted," Emily said. "Thinking about work?" Ava hesitated. "Not exactly." Emily raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Then what?" "There's this barista," Ava admitted. Emily laughed. "A barista?" "Yes," Ava said, smiling slightly. "He's different." Emily leaned closer. "Different how? Cute?" Ava thought for a moment. "Not in a flashy way, just kind, quiet, real." Emily sighed dramatically. "You always fall for the quiet ones." Ava smiled but didn't reply. That evening, Ava returned to the cafe. Lucas looked surprised to see her again. "Back so soon?" he asked. "Long day," Ava replied. "I understand." As he prepared her drink, Ava noticed something strange. On the counter near the register was a phone, sleek, expensive, clearly not something a simple barista would own. She frowned but said nothing. Lucas handed her the cup. "On the house," he said. Ava shook her head. "No, I can pay." "It's fine," Lucas replied softly. "You helped me today." Ava smiled. "Thank you." They stood there for a moment, unsure what to say. Finally, Ava spoke. "You don't deserve the way people treat you." Lucas looked away. "I'm used to it." "You shouldn't be," she said. Lucas met her eyes. Something deep and unreadable passed between them. Before Ava could say more, a man in a suit entered the cafe and approached Lucas quietly. "Sir," the man started, then stopped himself and lowered his voice. Lucas, everything is ready." Lucas stiffened. "Not here," he whispered. Ava noticed the tension. "Sorry," Lucas said quickly to Ava. "I need to step outside." He walked away with the man, leaving Ava confused. Outside, the man spoke urgently. Ava could see them through the glass. Lucas's calm face turned serious, powerful, different. After a minute, Lucas returned. "I'm sorry, I have to close early." "Oh," Ava replied. "That's okay." She gathered her things and walked out. As she reached the corner, she looked back. Lucas was standing inside the cafe, watching her leave. Ava felt a strange pull in her heart. She didn't know it yet, but her life had just crossed paths with a man who was hiding the biggest secret of all, and nothing would ever be the same again.